What is up guys, Julien here of Social Vignerons. Welcome back to another wine video. This is episode 37 of the Tasting with Julien series, the series where we together explore the world, the wonderful world of wine, tasting individual wines from individual wineries. And this is also going to be part 2 of tasting the wines by one of the most acclaimed, one of the most praised of all the wineries that are present in the Languedoc-Roussillon region. This is in the southern part of France, in the sunny southern part of France on the Mediterranean coast, relatively close to where I live actually. And in the previous episode, episode 36 of Tasting with Julien, I was tasting the second and the third label, the more affordable wines by this winery that is a relatively recent project, founded in 2004, but that one that has been acclaimed by Robert Parker, by international critics, by Chances Robinson, Andrew Jefford, and also Gary Vaynerchuk. A lot of people since 2004, since the foundation of this estate, have acclaimed the quality of the wines made by Pèira. So this is in the Terrasses du Larzac, which is a bit of an inland area on a bit of a plateau on a high altitude, which results in making generous wines because they come from the Languedoc, and so they are made from Grenache and Syrah, Carignan, this sort of exuberant, opulent, powerful grape varieties, but they are made in a bit of a higher altitude on a plateau that gets a bit of a cooling influence from this altitude and the nearby plateaus and the altitude, and so they result in wines that have a bit more minerality, a bit more acidity into them, a bit more food friendliness, and a bit of salinity to the background. So if you want to learn more about Pèira and Damaisèla, I think it's called, which is the exact name of the winery. If you want to learn more, I suggest you go and check out part 1 of the series. I went into a little bit more detail about explaining the winery, or you read my blog article on Social Vignerons about the winery. But today I am going to be tasting the top cuvée wines. So in the last episode, the wines were between $25 and $50. We are looking at $80, $90, $100 wines today, but those have been wine that over the years, depending on the vintage, have been scored between say 93, 94, 95 up to nearly 100 points, perfect scores pretty much by some of the top critics. So just wanted to share how good these wines are really. So I have happened to try Pèira, which is the top cuvée by the domain, but also we are going to be tasting Matissat, which is a 100% Mouvèdre, which has been named one of the very best wines in France, in the whole of France. So some have, it's in a different style, but some have compared it. Some have said that it reaches the quality of some of the very top Bordeaux and some of the very top wines in France in some particular vintages. So some exciting, absolutely exciting wines that I can't wait to dig in, and let's just do that. So I am going to be tasting right now Pèira and Damaisèla Terrasses du Larzac Languedoc wine from vintage 2015, so one of the latest releases. So as you pour the wine straight away, you are in the zone of wines that are generous, that have a deep, dark, intense color. So as you expect, and as we know from Languedoc, these are wines that are generally generous. This is a blend of Grenache and Syrah, no Mouvèdre and Carignan here. This wine is meant to express the pure concentration, the pure expression of the grapes that are grown in this Terrasses du Larzac on higher plateau. This is a bit of a rugged terroir, rugged land. There's not a whole lot going on, not a lot of agriculture, not a lot of people actually live up there. Only vines can really absorb, the little amount of water that that falls down on this area, and the generous sun, but also the cool breezes. So not many plants can take all that, rugged terroir expression. But vines absolutely love it, or at least the expression in the wines are generally very opulent and generous. So deep, dark, intense color. There are still some purple hues here. So 2015, this is only a 3-4-year-old wine. So this is, as we expect, a relatively useful wine. It throws powerful, intense, pungent aromas of blackberry, ripe, rich blackberry, slightly jammy, a little bit jammy maybe, a little bit of plum, a little bit of prune as well, but there is also a very vibrant raspberry character to it, and loads of, wow, chocolate, dark chocolate, intense cocoa. There's some vanilla, so there is an influence of oak. This wine goes through barrel aging, including in quite a relatively high proportion of new barrels. So there is a signature from the oak, the vanilla, some coffee, a bit of clove. Loads of herbal characters and thyme and rosemary. There's a bit of pepperiness from the Syrah as well. So this is a very complex aromatic profile. Lots of pungency, lots of richness, but also a zinginess from red, fresh red berry characters to the nose. The palate is round and opulent. There is a big body, and you can definitely recognize the signature from the Grenache here. Huge, ample body, oily texture with warming alcohol on the background, but there is a tension in the acidity, an enormous burst of jammy blackberry on the palate, and an enormous burst of oaky influence as well. So this is definitely a wine that is influenced by oak, at least at this early stage of its, you know, aging potential. This is a wine that you can definitely age for 10 years, 15 years. I was at a tasting where we tasted about 100 wines with 10 different vintages between 2005 and 2016, lately in the Terrasses du Larzac, and we found, every wine critic that was here found that all the wines in Terrasses du Larzac do gain by aging at least for 8-10 years, and then they come and they reach to a bit of a plenitude. So this is certainly a wine that you can age. So this is early stages, so fair amount of oak, loads of opulence, a rich, generous, opulent, warming wine, but there is this freshness, this salinity, this minerality that is typical from in the Terrasses du Larzac, the expression of the fruit character, the raspberry, vibrant raspberry character that drives all along the palate and makes you salivate, makes for, you know, the tasting experience where you know you have a wine from a warm climate, a generous wine, but you also know that this is still a food-friendly, a mild and soft, silky texture to the palate. So this is a wine for gastronomy, a wine for richly scented, flavored dishes, grilled meats and generous stews, all the southern France sort of Mediterranean type of dishes, but you can also pair this with elegant, subtly flavored gastronomic restaurant type sort of dishes as well. So this is a very high-end wine. To me, this is a 94, nearly 95 points out of 100 type of wine. So really getting into this super high class type of wine. The balance is superb, it's smooth, it's powerful, it's expressive, it's long, it's layered. You know, what else do you want? What else do you need? But let's dig into the Matissat. So this is a bit of a special cuvée. This is 100% Mouvèdre wine from a very special block on the property. So this wine, as I was saying, has been praised, has been, a lot of people have sung this wine. I have never tried it. I haven't come across that many Mouvèdre, 100% Mouvèdre wines. There are not that many around. Mouvèdre tend to be a bit of a difficult grape variety to grow and to make fine wines out of. Only in some particular spots, some wineries manage to do this. And some people have said that this is one of those examples. We are on the same vintage, 2015, and I can't wait to dig in and find out what this wine has to say. Certainly, again, very dense and dark, rich color, maybe a little bit more evolution to it. It's a little bit more orange than this one that had a lot of purple to it. Wow, the aromatic profile is dominated by a bit of a creamy, very creamy sort of chocolate, with a rich sort of cherry background as well. So it smells a bit like a black forest cake, but stuffed, you know, topped with loads of whipped cream on the top of it. So really, really charming, really intriguing to smell it, but also very, very tempting. Like all this cream and this rich red berry, cherry character, cherry liqueur character to the profile is really, really tempting. There's touches of pepper as well, and a bit of a truffle, a kind of earthy character to the smell as well, so it feels vibrant and tempting, but also deep and layered to smell it. Wow. So this is again a rich, opulent, round, the textured, opulent, generous wine that throws loads and loads of sensations on your palate. But it feels a little bit more rugged, a little bit more raw in its expression. So we are definitely more with less of a blend, but more of a single vineyard expression here. It feels also very, very stony. So let's get through all the different sensations. So there's a big burst of generous oily texture together with this rich cherry liqueur flavors. They are rounded up, they are surrounded by loads and loads of dark cocoa and dark chocolate on the palate. The tannins are smooth and opulent, relatively discreet. They are dense but smooth and quite discreet, a little bit granulous, but then there's a big burst of earthiness to the profile as well. So as I was saying, the truffle, it feels a little bit clayey on the palate, like fine grains of earth that are perceptible on the palate. So there's a big burst of personality into this wine, like you get generous fruit in the oak and all the opulence, but there is some sort of earthiness, the expression of the terroir that seems to come through. I mean, this is the very first time I taste this wine and I can feel the sort of granulous, earthy terroir that is behind this wine. I'm feeling a bit like a sort of iron-rich sort of terroir, and I don't know whether there is any iron or whether it might be a red sort of soil, but that's kind of what it tastes like, what it reminds me of when I taste this wine. Let's give it another sip. Wow. Yeah. When you have this wine on your palate, it drives your attention, it captivates you because it's so rounded in the middle palate. It's so soft and elegant and oily, and it's got this tension, so it feels a bit like a tension, a ball of tension in the middle of the palate, but then it keeps throwing loads and loads of exuberant and vanilla and loads of caramel and kind of a bourbon-like coconut exuberance, loads and loads of spices and the pepper and the clove, and it's just a big, enormous burst of explosion, but it also feels controlled. The expression feels relatively refined with this a bit of, you know, sort of rugged, a bit of rural expression that I love, you know, to feel in a wine, because you feel that, you know, it's not just a perfect harmony of a wine, there is a pure expression of earthiness and terroir into the wine. So wow, this is an immense wine. This is a big wine, but that brings, you know, so you have to have a bit of a next level understanding of wine to appreciate such a wine and the subtleties, because it's a massive wine, this delivering huge amounts of expressions, but you have to go and look deeper into the acidity and into the earthiness that it also delivers to really appreciate how deep and intense, and, you know, to justify the $90 or $100 that you are going to put into this wine. But it's certainly definitely worth it. It's a bit of a step up to me because it's got this signature expression that is so unique about this particular wine compared to the other one. I mean, I definitely love the other one, but this is just wow, extremely it's just outstanding tasting this wine. Yeah, you certainly feel that you are here with a wine that delivers something absolutely unique. So this to me Wow, I mean, this is, to me, is a 96 out of 100 points, because it's definitely in these top end, high class, world class wines, above 95, most definitely. And but it's beyond that, because it's got all the concentration in the character, in the silkiness, in the power, the length, the depth of expression. This is an outstanding wine. Anyway, I think I've said enough. Those wines are absolutely outstanding, world class. They are made for the international palate, because they are a little bit oaky and they are silky, but they do carry with them the expression of the south of France, the expression of this outstanding terroir of Terrasses du Larzac. I made a video about Terrasses du Larzac and how much, you know, wine critics absolutely love Terrasses du Larzac, just because the wines are simply fantastically amazing. Anyway, I think I've said enough. You understand my point. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you certainly very soon in the wonderful world of wine. Cheers. Something.